Booger McFarland got on there and started talking about Aaron Rodgers doing ayahuasca. So a bunch of kids now are probably like, Mom, what's ayahuasca?
Yeah. Oh boy.
About $30.
And I
actually have no idea how much ayahuasca would cost. I guess anywhere between $5 and $100, but I could be off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs, your favorite podcast about bubonic plagues, black plagues, plagues, and beer and video games. And rats.
Rats.
A whole lot of rats.
A whole lot of rats. As many as the system can actually create. My name is Brad, and we are part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. Check out all the other amazing shows. Who else do we have here today?
My name is Tyler, and that's me. You know me. I'm here.
Man, that was cool.
I had nothing prepared.
You're not even hungover today, I can tell.
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's mostly gone. My brother played a show last night.
Was that Last Rites?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. They sounded good. I was really drunk for it.
No.
Yeah. I worked Saturday morning, and then every time I get a Saturday night off, it kind of go a little hard.
We went to a wedding last night, and then when we left, we came home and wanted to hang out a little bit longer, and we watched the first 2 episodes of Gen V.
How is it?
Oh, yeah.
It is very good. I had low expectations, and immediately the first scene, you're like, oh, fuck. And then there's like this scene with a wiener, and you're like, okay.
All right. Sweet.
Yeah. All right, you got me.
Yeah.
And Dylan is sadly not here for this episode one more time because extenuating family stuff is happening. Dylan will be back. We miss him dearly. But in the meantime, we have inside of Dylan's shoes, returning wonderful guest. Who do we have here today?
Stoy. Does Dylan have any mannerisms that I can mimic just to make it feel less awkward? Or?
He often says, God is dead, eat ass. That's one of the classic things.
Do you have a vape?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I should have bought one beforehand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just say things that make me question whether or not I need to edit them out, and you'll be kind of riding the line pretty well.
Oh, man, you don't know how creative I can get. So I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be me.
Not socially incorrect, but just questionable sometimes.
Got it. All right.
Yes, but what are we talking about today, Tyler?
We are talking about 2 games, right?
Correct.
That are very near and dear to my heart. We are talking the Plague Tale games. It was my pick for the game that I wanted to talk about this year.
I am so glad you guys invited me on for this.
Oh, I'm glad you're here because, well, we'll get into Brad's feelings about the game.
Requiem, honestly, was my game of the year last year.
If you go back and listen to our wrap-up episode from last year, I do throw it out there that like it was in contention, but I had to go with God of War.
Didn't you switch over to Elden Ring?
I retroactively went back to Elden Ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's important to stick with your guns, though.
You got to follow your heart.
You've been hanging out with me and Dylan too much.
Yeah.
And we seem cool, but we're not. And mostly I just kind of ape on Dylan, so.
Yeah.
Dylan is cool, but.
I was on the fence, too, with it. Like, it took me a while to kind of come to that conclusion, you know, like sitting here thinking, what's my game of the year? Like, it's like I'm trying to pick car insurance, but is that out of pocket? No, that wasn't out of pocket. I'll work a little harder next time.
No, that one's great.
Okay, but yeah, like I just felt like a kind of like a really good connection with Amicia and in that game that I was like, wow, this is heavy.
For me, it clicked like right away, and the game does have its flaws. The story has its flaws, but every now and again, I find a piece of media that just like resonates with me, and I can't honestly identify what is so special about it. It hooked me immediately, and it stayed with me. So this was my pick for the year.
Innocence and Requiem.
Yes, because they're both relatively shorter games. You can knock out both in like a 40, 50-hour span.
Yeah.
And it's the one time I get to force Brad and Dylan, everybody, to play a game.
Which is fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah. See, I actually get to make them play a bunch of games throughout the years.
Yeah.
It would always be fun when people would try to make me play Pokemon games.
And that you're not a Pokemon guy, huh?
No, I'm not. No, I've tried twice.
Yeah.
And just not. I don't know. I think I was just born in the wrong generation.
I got a 2-week road trip coming up, and I turned my Switch on yesterday, and I was just doing a little shopping in my library because there's enough games there. But just looking at the NES, the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy, the 64, like there's a lot of games on there. And I was looking at Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy. I'm like, I don't know. I could just play that again.
I'm a Pokemon guy for like 2.5 weeks every year.
Oh, wow.
I get hooked, and then I play the shit out of it, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to be a grown-up again.
So do you go to the classics, or you just kind of pick up what's new? Like,
it depends.
Or what comes out, I guess.
Usually go back to the classics.
Yeah.
I think I have Emerald, and Emerald is the remake of Red and Blue, correct?
Dylan would say, wrong, you suck, and this. That would be a Dylan time to be like, actually, it's this one.
Yeah. My Crystal doesn't work anymore, which is sad.
Whoa.
battery?
The cartridge just doesn't
Oh, okay,
work.
right. Because I know like those batteries die quite often.
Yeah.
And I know there's like a huge modding community that like has videos where it's like makes that. I mean, it makes it look easy as long as you have like soldering.
Yeah, I didn't throw it away
skills.
or anything. I kept it because I'm like, somebody can fix this eventually when I have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Alex could fix it.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. He definitely could.
He definitely could. But the only Pokemon we're talking about today is Rattata and Eradicate.
Are those real Pokemon?
There's probably other rat Pokemon as well. But first, we are drinking a delicious beer. What did you bring for us today, Stoy?
So, Titletown Brewing Company has their take on the Oktoberfest. It's called Bent Tuba. Now, interestingly enough, fun fact about Titletown is I went to the Great Taste of the Midwest in Madison a couple months ago, and they had a beer blur.
What is? Oh, they actually had a water fountain.
Yeah,
but they call bubblers in Wisconsin. They call water fountains bubblers in Wisconsin. For those that are not familiar, I still am not used to it. But they had a beer blur.
Yeah, it was literally called the beer blur.
I don't understand how people don't get it. Like the water literally bubbles out of it.
Yeah,
it goes bubble, bubble, bubble.
Because
it's a bubbler.
Where I grew, where I went from, bubblers were for weed, and they were like bongs.
That's I guess that
true.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
But also, water fountains means something different than just a little thing you drink water out of. It means like there's a peeing boy in your garden.
Yeah, and you throw. If you need to go get a soda at lunchtime, you just got to go over to the fountain and grab the change out of it.
Right, yeah.
You're destroying people's wishes, but Wild Cherry Pepsi is like gold when you're in middle school.
They had a beer blur though.
Yes, so it almost like the worst possible choice. It was like a nitro porter.
Oh,
and I remember
weird.
that day was like 90 degrees, and I was like, that's the worst beer to like choose to put in your beer blur. But it was an interesting concept.
It's got to be something with the carbonation because that's why they went
Maybe,
nitro.
Yeah, they had to have done something with the carb.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it flowed pretty good. Like, I mean, you weren't like putting your mouth on it like all gross, but it was.
But then also, I just have like porter all in my mustache and beard the rest of the day.
Yeah, and that's all sticky. Yeah. But
Bent Tuba.
this is it's a Munich beer. Not very malty, which I like because like some Oktoberfests, especially the Munich style Oktoberfests, like come out very malty and just kind of like almost like syrupy.
Yeah.
Whereas this is kind of like a little bit subdued. So that's why this is kind of one of my favorites that I go to that I pick up every year. So, and also my friend is a beer distributor for Titletown, so like kind of obligated.
It's good to know people.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, how do you think I got it to the Great Taste of the Midwest?
Yeah, that's not easy, right?
No,
Otherwise, you
it's
have
not.
to like win a lottery to get in there.
It's either that or you got to sit in line for like 2 days, like camping out to get tickets.
That's too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I worked Third Space's IPA Fest this year for my brewery, and they were talking about how difficult it was going to be to get into because they had a whole VIP like ticket pricing where VIPs came in before the general population.
Yeah.
And people were ranting and raving about it. It seems like it was going to be a good time.
Yeah, I mean,
It's one of the big ones.
yeah, it is. One of the bigger ones in the country, I guess. So, lot of vendors. They had God, I was so mad. They had someone was gonna be tapping Smortal Combat. I really forget the name of the brewery. I took a picture of it because they were gonna be tapping it at like 2:30. So I got there at 2:50, and they said it was all gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's a good name, though.
I mean a s'mores stout in the middle of summer, like not my choice. I was just there for the name.
Yeah.
So
I'm a sucker for that, too.
yeah,
Oh, I don't want this beer at all, but it says video game on it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So Fantasy Factory was hugely popular, obviously, because of all the beer art. So when you think about what draws people in to drink your beer,
Isn't it a cat with laser beams coming out of his eyes sitting on a unicorn?
on
or
a
some
unicorn,
crazy
yeah,
shit?
with a big rainbow behind him.
Yeah.
Speaking
will
of
sell.
cats, unicorns, and rainbows, I don't have a segue.
That's a good one.
A Plague Tale.
Is a game.
A Plague Tale: Innocence. So I knew nothing going into this at all, which is one of my favorite ways to go into a game, is literally not even seeing a trailer. It's made by Asobo Studio. It's a French video game developer based in Bordeaux and founded in 2002. Before A Plague Tale, it was mostly known for developing video game adaptations of several Pixar movies and the 2020 version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Studio's name is derived from the Japanese word asobo that means let's play.
That is pretty cool. I did not know that they made the Pixar shit.
Yeah.
Or Flight Simulator.
Like, if you're a fan of Ratatouille on the GameCube, this is your studio. But
that makes sense now.
Oh, man, it really does
Yeah.
make sense.
Did you do that on purpose?
No.
Oh, okay. Right.
I was just mostly, that's one of the Pixar movies I remember them making.
Yeah.
The games, anyways. This was directed by David Dedian and Kevin Chateau, produced by Bryce Devine and Jamal. Nope, no chance there. Designer Kevin Chateau, artist Olivier Poncenet, written by Sebastian Renard, who also wrote the next game and Life is Strange as well, and composed by Olivier Derivier. I'm just going to get some of the numbers and the facts out real quick. Developed... This is the first original title from Asobo since their racing game in 2009, Fuel, which I don't know anything about Fuel.
I played Fuel.
It kind of reminded me of, remember MotorStorm? Kind of similar in that, like, extreme ATV.
Like almost Burnout.
Yeah.
Like same avenue.
It's pretty impressive, though, that their first original title since 2009 they came out and was a very beloved title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's impressive. The company wanted to create a narrative-driven experience inspired by The Last of Us and Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. And the main theme of the game is innocence. Huh. Who saw that coming?
Not I.
Not I. It released for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One May 14th, 2019. It came to the Luna on November 24th, 2020. And it came to Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X, July 6, 2021. The Switch version is only via cloud. Not great. They announced the game in January 2017 as The Plague. So, I'll start off with my thoughts. I think, like I said, I went into this with no understanding of anything that was happening. And I found the story and the setting to be very cool. I loved the stealth mechanics. That was the strong point. And overall, it was not necessarily the game for me. We'll get into it. But it's just, I think, more my sensibilities than anything else. It's just a game super focused on storytelling and filmic experience. And that is, as of the past few years, I've gotten just further and further away from that. So it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I definitely appreciate the game. But yeah, I went in with no idea what to expect. And we'll get into the story and some of the gameplay, but that was my personal experience with Innocence. Now, Stoy, you're pretty hot on this game.
Yeah. It's interesting because this was another game I saw the trailers and I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. I'm in the single player narrative experiences. Like that's my cup of tea. Give me a good story and really good characters that I can kind of really latch onto. And, Plague Tale, Innocence was definitely character driven. It was the kind of relationship between, like obviously Amicia, the sister, taking care of her brother, Hugo. So it was like, that's what really drew me in to kind of really go through it. Was it a great narrative? I mean, that's debatable. We could sit here and talk about that all day. But, I think I was drawn by the relationship between the two that really kind of kept me pushing forward and seeing, like, I want to see how their story ends, not how the story ends.
Yeah. What's wrong with Hugo?
He's sick. He's sick.
He's a sick little baby boy.
And he kills a lot of people.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
There is no innocence left.
No. I think that was sarcasm. Maybe. I think maybe because obviously Hugo's a victim. He has this rat plague style disease that called the macula, where he like conjures up rats out of nowhere. That's kind of his disease, so to speak, and it's slowly killing him. And it's kind of a shame because obviously, as you see, Hugo is kind of like an innocent little child that just wants to have fun. He wants to be a kid.
Yeah.
But
first time he's like, "Is that a frog? I've never seen a frog." I was like, "Get this kid a frog, man."
Yeah, right. God, man.
Somebody get this guy a little froggy. Yeah. So did you play it pretty quick upon release?
Yeah, I played it. I played it right away.
Yeah.
So, like I said, and I burned through it. I thought it was going to be a single game experience. Like I thought, like that's it, game ended. And then when they announced the sequel to it, I was like kind of dumbfounded. I was like, oh my god, I didn't think the first one did that good, because it was kind of like a flew under the radar, like not quite AAA for me, but maybe like AA, where it was like it was good, but.
Yeah, I
find
see
that
what you're
to
saying.
be kind of a sweet spot, though, with some of these games, like when it's not quite AAA, but like it's just a notch down. Like I think for me, it lowers my expectations a whole bunch, so I'm often pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, to where you think, especially like this isn't a studio that just recently got off making the last Call of Duty or Last of Us or anything like that. Nothing like a big studio, but it's just like like you said, this is their first big game that they made, like. Completely original, and to come out of the gate with that, like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
especially in this day and age.
New characters, new IP to make a splash. It's pretty intense, pretty
refreshing.
Insane.
Yeah, and in this day and age, not a lot of people are very trusting with new IPAs or new IPs.
People are way too trusting with new IPAs.
I know, no kidding. Yeah, man, they all taste the same for crying out
You
loud.
tell me that thing's got hops.
Yeah, right.
It's got double dry hops.
Yeah,
Does it get triple dry hop?
triple dry hops.
Can you do that?
I'll take one.
Does it taste like grass?
Does my beard look good?
Yeah, I got more flannels. What are you saying?
A nice flannel. Where'd you get it? I got mine from a thrift store. Someone's better.
Yeah, I paid a lot for it.
Paid a lot of money for this flannel. $80 at a thrift store.
Yep.
I got gypped. Tyler, pretty big fan.
I absolutely adore both of these games. Innocence was on my to-do list for several years.
Yeah.
It was always on the back burner. I always chose another game over it. And I found myself saying, like, I'll get it soon. I'll get it soon. Right when I moved to Milwaukee about 3 years ago, I was about to play it, and then something happened, and I didn't, and then I totally forgot about it. And then I started seeing trailers for Requiem, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Requiem comes out in like a week. I'm just going to dive into the first one. And I fucking loved it.
That was a pretty good idea because the two really tie together.
Yeah, I like it when it works out like that. I would have liked to support the game from the jump, but I mean, it got a sequel, and I was able to.
It's hard to pull the trigger on those things when you don't know if you're going to like a game.
Yeah, and I mean, this was, like I said, that sweet spot of like a studio I'm not familiar with and a totally new concept for a game. My expectations are low. I'm just going to fucking go for it. And then to be absolutely blown away by the story. And I totally agree with what you said. I didn't play the game to see how the story was, like how it ends. I wanted to see how their story ended. Because I found myself very attached.
It ends
to
with
the
a
two main
pope
characters.
and towers of fucking rats.
Yeah,
Which is
skyscraper
gnarly.
of rats.
Do you know how I had
me,
Prequel
it's-
by Ghost just playing on repeat while I was playing this game?
Oh, that's almost perfect.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
speaking of sounds, the standout best thing in these games to me is the soundtrack.
Composer. Who was the composer?
Olivier Derivière.
That guy gets a gold star.
Yeah.
Because the music is doing things where I'm like, it's building up to where I think some gnarly shit's happening, and it's just always there, which really sets the tone for the terror that must be happening. It's some of these soldiers are way too nonchalant, being surrounded by a shitload of rats, just like, man, I don't want to be working right now, and there's like literally 20,000 rats around you.
Just like a big pile of them just standing there right by that flame. And it's like, man, I hope that flame doesn't go out. All of a sudden,
Hopefully, there's no alchemists out there with extinguish. Yeah, I was really what immediately took me aback was the title screen, because like I said, I don't know anything about this game other than a plague tale. There's going to be rats.
Yeah.
And the title screen has a bunch of rats, and then a train goes by and light shines through the windows and the rats disperse, and then they go right back in. And immediately I'm like, I get the whole game already. Mm-hmm. It's stealth and it's about moving light. I get the whole concept, and I really like that.
It's kind of clever how they do that. Like, it's like teaching you about the game in a very subtle way.
It's really
instead of just
effective.
like, here's a 5-minute tutorial on how to, get the rats to stay off your back.
I found it really cool.
Yeah.
The stealth sections are what shines for me in this game. So it takes place in mid-14th century Aquitaine. Apologies to our French listeners. I am doing my best. So bon chance to everyone to get things right. It's set during, it's in France during the 100 Years' War, and you play as Amicia, voiced by Charlotte McBurney. You start off walking with your father through the woods, and you quickly get introduced to one of the core mechanics of the game, your sling.
Yep.
Which I think is fine. I mean, it's a little unrealistic to me when she just kills 8 guys in a row with a sling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Headshot every time. Yeah.
It's cool, but
I mean, maybe she's got like superpowers.
well, they could have gone that route. There is supernatural blood in their family, but they don't establish that. Maybe, well, there won't be in a Plague Tale 3 because we saw where I guess there could be, but the post credits for 2 sets up something else.
Yeah. Which I'd be curious to see if they do decide to do it. I mean, we'll get there when we get there, but I kind of thought that, especially in Requiem, when they kind of talked about her as the protector,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that's maybe once I was playing Requiem, I was like, okay, maybe she has some sort of innate, supernatural ability to just hit headshot after headshot with a sling.
Also,
I don't know.
when she gets the crossbow and Requiem, like that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I will kill someone with a crossbow. Mm-hmm. Hobbits have never, they don't kill you with a rock. They will knock you out, maybe, those hobbits. But as far as just slinging people like crazy, it makes sense with distractions and stuff like that.
Yeah, like when you use your rock or your sling to extinguish a flame, and then you watch a soldier just get devoured by rats.
That's what I like.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
I prefer that than the direct combat scenarios.
I liked that this wasn't like a one-man army type game where you're just like fucking mowing soldiers down. I did rely on the stealth and like tried to get through most sequences without interacting with anybody.
Mm-hmm. It was the same with me because I think like 2 hits and you're dead. Like that's it.
Yeah,
it's very quick.
It's very quick. Yeah,
unforgiving.
Yeah, I mean, but the gameplay is centered around like stealth.
Yeah,
so
and I like to put myself as much as I can in the character's shoes, and like she's never killed anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
for at least a couple chapters.
Yeah. But like she would try to just sneak. She wouldn't engage. Like I'd really tried to play the game that way to be as true to that character as I could.
Mm-hmm. What's our little alchemist buddy's name? I forget. There was a few times she was like, "You didn't have to kill that guy." I'm like, it was easier. I had to kill him.
By the second one, I was Rambo.
I was like, yeah, fuck it.
No, I still
wielding slings.
I still maintain the stealth of the second one. Like honestly, I barely even used the crossbow in the second one because I still felt like, even though she has this power and she was like almost like influenced by rage in the second one, to where it's like she's a hardcore, she's stone cold killer now.
Yeah.
I still was like, kind of still want to play it the stealth way, like I always have been, but
I went full Rambo.
maybe I'm a baby.
So in our tutorial, we have our dog runs away. We're learning about the gameplay, and the dog just fucking gets swallowed by a hole. And this is teasing what's going to be coming with the plague, with the rats. Our Wisconsin is going to show when we say plague this episode.
Rats.
Plague.
Put the rats in a bag.
Yeah, it's a shopping plague. So we lose our dog and we head back home, and very quickly, Amicia and the Darun family, they are nobles. So the fact that they have like servants working for them and people under them, we know Amicia's led a little bit more of a comfortable life, but it seemed like her dad was raising her in a good way. And
with a little discipline.
Well, but also, this is how you kill 10 dudes with a sling, but shoot at apples instead. I appreciate that fathering. This is how you kill apples. Wink, wink. But yeah, I mean, none of the servants seem disgruntled anyways, so that's good. We quickly learn about our little brother Hugo, though, and it's very weird when you find out Amicia's like seen him twice. And he's like, what would you say, 8 or 9, 10, something like that?
Yeah. Maybe by that game, in that game, yeah.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very young. Much younger than I thought my companion was going to be normally in these companion games. But him being so young, you really do, like, you do have to protect him. Like, he's more of an encumbrance than he is any help.
Yeah.
I think I've read a lot of people complaining about Hugo and his, needing to protect him and guide him around. I had no issues with Hugo. I liked the kid quite a bit. It was sometimes you'd get stuck in that same sequence and they'd restart you like 5 minutes back and you'd have to hear the same dialogue 1,000 times with someone screaming Amicia. And I'm like, Hugo, I fucking get it. Let's skip this cutscene. Let's skip this bullshit and get back to where I was. But I actually liked Hugo. The character I loved, and the gameplay with him I didn't mind, which is what I think some people were complaining about.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are obviously, I always think back like to the original Resident Evil 4 of like trying to protect Ashley all the time. And just like how a lot of times she would be a hindrance. She'd just be getting in the way. Like all of a sudden it's like, Leon! Instead of it's like, Amicia! Like, oh God. But it wasn't as bad in Plague Tale than it was in like original Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
I do find it impressive that I liked the character Hugo. It's hard to make me like kids.
Yeah.
Like in any medium. I just generally don't really care for kids.
Yeah.
But I liked Hugo's character. The writers behind this definitely crafted some really nice characters.
Hugo voiced by Logan Hannon. And these two also participated in the writing process, Charlotte and Logan, by doing improv and suggesting dialogue changes to make it seem a little more natural.
I like that.
But you were telling me, Stoy, you didn't get to hear Logan or Charlotte.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these actors and actresses mean nothing to me because I played it in French. And
do you speak French?
No, I don't. Oh. I had it in subtitles.
Okay.
Well, because like I started this game and I was like, I started playing it maybe like the first like few minutes and I was like, yeah, the voice actors are pretty good, but let me see how it sounds in French, because it's like, this is taking place in 14th century France. I feel like I should be like enveloped in the world, and man, like I don't know, it just added a bigger sense of immersion for me just to hear it in French. And honestly, the acting was really good.
I should have fucking done that.
Yeah, like obviously it's a French studio, and I almost think like French actors maybe would fit the role better for them.
It's a French story.
Yeah, and it's a French story, so I thought, why not go all out? It's like playing Ghost of Tsushima with.
I was just gonna say playing that in Japanese
is like the only way to go.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah, like just leagues better. Like I tried playing it in English, and I was like, no.
Playing the Yakuza games, I tried playing in English for a while. I was like, this is a big mistake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought the same thing with Judgment. Like, because those are the only Yakuza games I played was Judgment.
Okay.
And I was like, I can't be wandering around a suburb of Tokyo and listening to a bunch of guys in English like, hey, brother, let's go fight the Yakuza.
Yeah. Yeah, give me some immersion.
Yeah.
We get home, though, and we're trying to tell our mom about what happened to the dog. She's like, shut the fuck up. I don't even care about your dog.
Sparky is gone, Mom.
But your home is quickly attacked by Inquisition troops led by Lord Nicholas.
Fuck that guy.
And he's also known as the Scarlet Monk. They are looking for Hugo, we find out. The servants are slaughtered and the estate set afire. And I do like a game that ups the fucking ante quick.
Yeah.
And the tutorial was not too long. And it set the tone, and it got to like the house is on fire, and you watch everybody getting killed.
Yeah, it is intense as fuck too, because it comes up really fast, and they don't really pull their punches. It is a violent game.
Yeah,
and your mom's like, "You need to get Hugo out of here," and you're like, "I am a kid.
Yeah,
I am a child."
Yeah,
and I don't think you heard me a minute ago. Our fucking dog's gone. And like, I just really think we should
And you're out
address
here
that.
complaining about the servants being slaughtered.
Yeah. I mean, I know the house is on fire, but like if we could wrap up this dog thing real quick, just so I know that Sparky's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting seeing Amici have to talk to Hugo. She's like, you might not remember me. So crazy. We find out later why Hugo was isolated.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get introduced to the horror of this game, which you need to sneak around. You're not really at too much risk in at least escaping the home, the building that much at first. It's really just showing, wait for this. Don't be super dumb and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But you get to see people getting slaughtered before you meet up with your mom and get out. Then you're introduced to almost all the stealth mechanics pretty quick. Tall grass. If that grass is tall, you can be standing up like an inch below the top of the grass. And the guy's just like, I wonder where they went.
As you're moving around and they're still like standing in front of you, like, what is going on here?
I guess it was the wind. I love the dialogue of every video game ever when you attract a guard. I guess it was nothing.
Oh, must be seeing things.
Why are you voicing your thoughts?
Dude's just lonely, I guess. I don't know.
Well, if you're on an 8-hour guard duty in the middle of the night, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I guess it's raining rocks again.
Geez, I really hope there's nobody in the grass. No
That would be
possible
bad.
friends out there.
I'm going to turn my back to it.
I was supposed to be sleeping right now. It's not even my day.
What is that, Metal Gear? The first Metal Gear? I fell asleep.
You can tell Hugo to wait or follow. A mechanic I didn't really use barely at all. You don't really need to.
No, you don't.
It depends on what you're going for.
I think there was a few instances where I just put him somewhere so that I could go like distract guards or move people around or kill some people and then went back and got them. But yeah, I didn't use it very much either, I think.
Yeah, the gameplay is largely linear. There are some little sandbox set pieces where you have your own way to deal with guards or this specific room or location, but most of the time it's a pretty straightforward path. Which I really like when they did have those more open elements, because it felt a little more like improv, where things can get out of control or things are not how they start and you have to like really kind of think through the problems, instead of there's two guards, one has a set walk path, and there's a shiny thing that I can clearly throw a rock at. They're good at telegraphing. I mean, I don't know who's bringing all of these giant carts of armor that just sit there.
You always got to have backups.
Yeah. Let's just put this like flammable pig fat right here too, just in case.
And I liked that the pacing of it too, where the first few chapters are all stealth and it's all avoiding soldiers. And yeah, you get introduced to you're throwing stones, distractions, all that stuff, quintessential stealth.
Yeah. And relying on the game kind of forcing you to be stealthy early on in the game really puts you in the mindset of like how hopeless or helpless you are. You are literally two children going up against soldiers, like full grown men. And I think that helplessness shines through and just adds the tension to the game. Pair that with the music, and like it is a nerve-wracking game. Especially if you play it on a higher difficulty. Like, Jesus.
I'm not that brave.
I don't know if I'd want to play it on a higher difficulty.
Yeah. Especially since, I think at the higher difficulty, they're more aware of their surroundings. So even just like the mere thought of like walking like 5 feet from them,
Yeah.
it's like you have to be really careful. Or at least they're like, maybe their vision is like a little bit further out. I don't know. I've never tried. So
Yeah, when you up the difficulty, they're like, wait a minute, grass doesn't move on its own like that.
No, they don't.
no.
Yeah.
No, they don't, right? They still just...
They still are like, probably nothing.
This grass looks crazy, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Yeah, pots cause distractions. You can throw your pots. You get to the end, though, and your mama, Beatrice, instructs you to find Laurentius before she is killed. Not.
Not.
I was wary because you don't see her die. It's just the sword coming through the door, right?
I wish she had just died, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. That rug pull seems unnecessary.
I wonder if she did die, and then with the success of the game and coming up with a sequel, they were like, well, maybe we need her.
No, I mean, she comes back in the first game.
Wait, does she?
No. Isn't that second? She's in the second game.
Yeah, because she just was like there in the second game, and I was like, oh, okay.
She starts off with you in the second game.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
She comes back in the first game.
She does come back in the first game?
Oh, she does, yeah. Right
it's been a while since I played it, so I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 years since I played this game.
All right.
You flee to a nearby village, and we're chapter 2. You learn how to push crates and shoot them down. Now, one thing that I think is very underwhelming, and dare I say it, not worth my time, are the puzzles in this game. Most of them are pretty straightforward. This is my opinion. The more I played this game, the less I was into it. The puzzles, the most straightforward. They never seem too difficult. If there's one shiny thing in a room, I guarantee I'm going to shoot it down and maybe have to also put a fire out.
Yep, that's the 1-2 punch right there.
That's all of it.
It is kind of hard when you think about it. Like when you think about video game design, it's like the designers obviously have to say like, how do we make the way out of this as obvious as possible, instead of like really making it really obtuse. So like I don't envy game designers to sit there and look like, how do we make this easy? So like when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, shiny thing. Oh yeah, fire, guard standing right next to it, bunch of rats right there. It's starting to click.
Yeah. And it's got to be difficult to create puzzles in today's games that we haven't seen a variation of already.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we push a lot of crates in a lot of games.
This is a very simple one. But like I think about God of War Ragnarok and how like some of those rooms that you walk into and puzzles, it's like a little overwhelming. All of a sudden you're like, holy fuck, where do I even start? And then
10 seconds later they say, hey, why don't we do that there? It's like,
Kratos, try shooting the rope down.
Like I didn't even have time to enter the room.
Yeah, come on. Which I think they fixed a while later. I think they just kind of delayed it by almost a minute, I think.
They patched in the 30-second delay on puzzle solving.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. You're in the village, though, and you're not really seeing the plague yet. You know something's wrong. You know that people have the plague, but you haven't seen the rats.
Yeah.
But there's a good section here where you're just getting chased by tons of soldiers. And I think it's telegraphed fairly well. When I'm in a running section like that and you just kind of know which ways to go, but it doesn't feel like there's arrows, I'm very impressed by that. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed this sequence of the entire world trying to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And even just the running animation. You know, just making it, I just remember like you can actually tell like her running animation changed to where she's panicked right now.
Yeah.
Like it adds to that, like what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. There's really no friends in this world. Like you are on your own. And I'm a little bit of an armchair historian. Like I like history a lot, specifically older history, like Plague and even before that. And listening to like Dan Carlin talk about it, it is a very bad time to be alive. It was not just the plague, but there was a ton of other shit going on in the world that just made it a very unfriendly, horrible place to be.
Well, wasn't it the Black Plague? Didn't it kill like 25% of Europe at the time? Is that the number?
Something like that. It also lasted for like 100 years and came back like the flu because it just kept changing.
We don't need to wash our hands.
They called that guy crazy. Yeah. He's like, maybe if we...
Oh, there's little invisible bacteria. Okay, whatever.
Invisible hug, you know.
Yeah.
But I really like how you don't see the plague. It's almost like this...
until you see the plague.
Until you see the plague. It's like this, you know it's coming. It's literally in the fucking title. But it takes a little while to get to it. It's like that. It's like the monster in the shadows.
And you don't know how much it'll be.
Yeah.
Because when I think of the Black Plague, you know, I wasn't there.
You weren't?
No.
Those were dark times indeed.
But I didn't imagine it being 20,000 rats moving like a wave.
Yeah.
So the first time you see that, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I do think, though, that didn't happen in real life.
Oh, of course not.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, there were rats.
On the same page. I don't think there were 20. It was 20 rats, not 20,000.
It wasn't a tsunami of rats.
Mm-hmm. And they're just like, oh, I don't like light, though. I'm not going in there.
Yeah. Just gonna close my windows and
turn it off.
Could you imagine, like, we unearth paintings from the Black Plague that were, like, lost to time, and then some historian finds them, and there's literal waves of rats just being painted, and it turns out to be true.
It's a metaphor.
That'd be pretty wild.
And the rats were just hung over, so that's why they were avoiding the light.
yeah, that was it.
Oh, God. Turn it down.
Too much blood.
You get invited in by an elderly woman named Clervy. She opens her door, and she says, use my crafting materials. There's a tool over there to make a leather belt better. You're like, you're being very weird, lady, but thank you.
I'm just happy you're not trying to kill me.
And then she coughs once, and you're like, can you put your mask on, please?
Yeah, can you back up?
Yeah. You learn about crafting, which is going to be one of the big things you do here, upgrading your tools. You're going to need a specific, crafting tool to upgrade everything, but this is something you're going to be collecting materials specifically for. You're either collecting stuff off the ground to throw or shoot, your things, your extinguish, your ignifier, whatever it is, and then otherwise also upgrading your accessories. You have a boss here, Conrad. Wow. Conrad, he is just a dude, and you are in a cage, and you learn about knocking away armor and hitting people in the head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which was, you want to hit him in the face. If you're going to kill somebody with a rock, at least
the dick.
Yes.
Which, unfortunately, they didn't add in this game, in either games.
If you hit him in the dick, you could stun him for like 10 seconds and then get an easier headshot.
Yeah.
Oh, if you get hit in the dick with a rock, I'm down for more than a couple seconds.
Especially rocks that are...
Kill me right now.
That are single knockout punches, know? Yeah. You don't want that. You make it to this monastery, though, and you're looking for Laurentius, the one person who might be able to treat Hugo, who's having weird headaches. And the priest is... the monk, the priest, whatever he is, he's very much like, Father Thomas says, I don't really want a part of this, but you say, this is Hugo Daroon, we're looking for Laurentius. He's like, oh, cool, we have to take the tunnels.
Let's take the worst way possible.
We very quickly see Father Thomas get killed by a sea of rats. We learn about the bite, which is a lethal illness accompanying the manifestation of the prima macula. I'm still on board for the story at this. At some point, he becomes the chosen one, and it gets fucking out there, fantasy stuff. But symptoms include coughing, large sores and boils, fever, and symptoms will be fatal, and it makes you extremely thirsty. We see some people afflicted with it drinking like dirt water, which is effective. And then you see the rats, which have been spreading the Black Plague. Up to 5,000 rats can appear on screen at once for this game.
Damn.
I think the sequel was double, 10,000.
I think it was 20,000.
Was it 20,000?
It's a lot
The
more.
sequel has a lot of rats.
A lot of rats.
And there are 4 layers of how the rats can appear in this game. Rats further away are almost strictly background, non-animated mesh. The closer the different rats layers are going to be there. Rats don't like light. Sticks will burn for a while, so you're going to get in sections where there's a sea of rats, and you can light a stick, and then just... you have 10 seconds or whatever. It's about getting from A to B and through the rats, be it shoot down a carcass that the rats feast on, light something up.
I did really enjoy navigating the rat portions of these games.
Yeah, the bigger open areas.
Yeah.
That made it really fun. Because it wasn't just following a corridor. Like you get to a big open village area, then it's like, okay, there's like a dangling cow carcass there. I can use that to divert. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. Also, who the fuck's hanging all these fucking carcasses?
Right?
Who's hanging all this stuff?
Maybe someone wise to the rats, and they're
Planning ahead
for somebody with a sling that can hit a single rope.
Someone was thinking.
She's straight up Robin Hood with that fucking sling. She is just hitting things she should not be able to.
Yep. On the first try, too.
First try. We escape the village. We're trying to get to Laurentius, though. And from here, there's another section outside. Hugo sees frogs. I put that down. Very endearing.
Yeah.
We do run into Laurentius's farm, though. Laurentius is very severely ill with the plague. But we meet character Lucas, probably an orphan taken in by Laurentius. He teaches us how to do the ignifer, which you can start fires. Very quickly, though, the entire farm is just overtaken with rats. despite the light, they just said this actually needs to go down. So,
The heartthrob Lucas.
wow, Lucas, I was very hot for him.
Oh, so was I.
Yeah,
I was like, man, if I were Amicia, I would smash that.
Once he's 18, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
You so now you have a new character, Lucas, who is on your team, and you go out to this barn because every alchemist has a secret basement somewhere where they practice their shit, and you have to kill an innocent pig. You have to lure a pig to distract the rats. And he was like, "Don't do that, dude. I like animals." And this was the first time I was like, "Oh, so we're gonna have to start sacrificing what innocence we have." And then I was like, I get it.
No, this is tracking now.
It's like the title. We're losing it. At this point, you need to seek the Chateau d'Ombrage, which once belonged to the Darun family, because we'll find out the Daruns are the Skywalkers. They are ordained. They're blood special. They have the midichlorians to control rats, as you do.
That was very eloquent and beautiful.
If you, I can dumb anything down to Star Wars at some point.
I was going to say, I'm not much for Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break to hear from another amazing show from the Tokubi Podcast Network, mostly because I need another beer. We'll be right back. Hey, everyone, and we're back. Surely everything's going to get better for our friends here in Plagueland. Nothing bad would happen, right?
Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here at this point.
Can you guys explain to me what the fuck a prima macula is?
So it was a song produced by Madonna, I believe.
Is it
in
really?
the 80s? No, it's not.
Prima macula.
It does sound like it though. It's
You had me.
I could have had you there.
Yep. When she was dating Weird Al.
That did happen.
This would be the Rat King.
This is Willard. What's the fucking name of the rat guy? Chris. Fuck. There was a movie about a guy who could control rats in like 2004.
Oh yeah, Willard.
Is it Willard?
Will something? Yeah, with the guy from
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Charlie's Angels.
Oh, weird.
He's in that movie.
What are you talking about? This movie?
Is it Wilford?
I think it might be Willard.
Willard.
Oh, okay.
Rat movie.
Well, because I was thinking about the Rat King from Ninja Turtles.
Rat movie Willard.
Rat movie Willard. Okay.
Yeah, I watched that shit. It was weird.
Huh.
It's got a 6.1 out of 10, so it's pretty good.
Who's the guy though? The main character. What's his name?
Crispin Glover.
Yes.
Oh, that's George McFly, right?
Yeah.
McFly. Yeah. He befriends a colony of rats, especially a white rat named Socrates and a large rat named Ben, though the latter soon becomes an antagonist.
Oh, no.
We're not going to watch Willard for this podcast. But
Evil Ben.
I'm getting some popcorn dog ideas.
we got to
with
watch
that one.
Charlie's Angels Full Throttle first.
Yeah, not the first one.
The second one, with no context.
Yep.
We watched part of it the other day after the Packers.
It is bananas.
And it is the most ridiculous movie you will ever see.
Okay.
It looks like it was shot as a commercial for an hour.
Well, doesn't MCG, didn't he direct those?
You know his name is McG.
McG, sorry, MCG.
You know it's McG. You're trying to dishonor the man.
Sure, I'm there, sure. Sorry to disrespect McG.
So the Prima Macula is a Madonna song, but also
it is the dominant strain, the most powerful Rat King. Essentially, you will be tippy top of the Rat Kingdom.
Yep. If the rats worshipped a god,
it would be that guy.
It would be that guy. God is dead.
Ooh,
there it is.
And the Prima Macula lives on.
Eat some ass.
Eat ass. Anyway.
The Prima Macula has a power that allows its bearer to commune with disease. Despite initial indications, it is both somewhat self-aware and malicious, as we find out in another game.
This is where we start getting into the fantasy bullshit that I think really sold me on this game, because once it gets weirder, I like it more.
When it was grounded, I liked it more. Once it starts, and even with controlling rats, I'm like, I'm with you, but it got too far out there.
I think once it started getting into the whole like prophecy thing, like even when we start talking about Requiem and some of the things that you discover, it's like, all right, we're getting out there. You know, I kind of like the grounded aspect of it most, and then some of the whole like, oh, he has anyway. I'll wait. Yeah,
we can jump into some of the story here. We run into more characters. There's Melly and Arthur, some thieves. we find our main villain soon enough, the one who is looking for Hugo, in Vitaly Benevent, the Grand Inquisitor of France, the leader of the Inquisition. When he is afflicted with the plague himself, he orders the Darun family attacked and Hugo captured. They've known for a while that Hugo carried the Prima Macula, and they were just letting him kind of be his own thing. We discover that our mother, Beatrice, is also an alchemist and was working on trying to cure Hugo of the Prima Macula. But yes, Vitalis will be our main enemy. We get captured. We quickly get ourselves uncaptured. We lose all of our stuff. We quickly get it back.
Story beat.
Story stuff.
We're going to store all this stuff in a box right next to yourself.
Yeah. And we get some, substances and stuff. A lot of it's straightforward. Turn lights on, lure rats, turn lights off.
Yep, we get a couple sections where we're playing as Hugo, which is a lot like the Resident Evil 4 where you play as Ashley, where you can't fight anything, and it's just incredibly... the first time you play it, it's interesting because the tension is there, but on a replay, it's like, this is... What does Jakey call it? My goopy goblin brain can't handle it.
I love the Hugo section myself. Although, again, you're pushing incredulity when there is a room that you're putting the kid in, and there is a cabinet that has a door, like an other side cabinet to another room, and it's just there, and they leave the kid there.
We're gonna leave the kid in the room with all the kid-sized holes in the wall.
It's not even a kid-sized hole; it is an adult-sized hole.
We're gonna put a cage in front of it. He's not gonna figure that out.
Yeah,
to just push it.
One of the weirder sections we run into is when we finally get to the Chateau d'Ombrage, and it is it's one of the coolest set pieces in the game. Your giant home fortress, which used to be part of your family, and you have to just push all of the rats, and there's these giant movable torch things, which I guess it makes sense since we find out this has been around since the Justinian plague, 541 AD. So someone would have made a spot where you could push all the rats out. Also, you could also just have 5 torches at the front door.
I mean, semantics.
I mean,
no. Did you know rats can climb into your house through your toilet?
They can. Well, it depends on how long they can hold their breath.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't just put torches up at the front door. Where there's a rat that finds a way.
Yeah. But unless there's a 20-foot drop off, then the rats are fucked.
Oh no, they can't do that
until the second game. When oh yeah, they climb now. They
watched World War Z and they were like, those zombies are onto something.
Oh,
we can stack our bodies.
So if you jump on top of my back and then he jumps on top of your back,
then we're 3 rats high.
Yeah.
But the story needs to happen more. We have to go find a book.
I do like the kind of beat that we hit here in the story where we have a home base and there's a little bit of camaraderie with the 2 strangers, and well, they're not strangers anymore, and Lucas, and now Amicia and Hugo are really starting to bond. She's getting a little, she's more understanding of where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think that was the difficult part in the beginning of their relationship, is that they're strangers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They were obviously siblings, but barely knew each other. So interestingly, what an interesting way to learn about each other than through a rat plague.
Through
And
the most intense.
One of the most intense scenarios, yeah. But yeah, the fortress was kind of cool because now you're setting up defenses. Now it becomes almost like a tower defense game.
I didn't expect that.
I didn't either, yeah.
It kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, this is chef's kiss right now.
Yeah, the guards coming through the gate. Okay, I got to run over there and man the, what do they call those big bow and arrow machines?
Ballistas,
that's it.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you're halfway through the game, and then also the people writing the story we got to do more. Get a book. It's dangling MacGuffins.
Yep.
You have to go get a book though, which will tell you how to cure your brother. We meet Roderick, who is a blacksmith. He can punch things and run through doors.
He is so good at punching things.
You can just punch things, dude. I'm fine. I think it's cool.
Roderick means punch things very hard in French.
Oui.
My French is a little bit off, so I don't know if that's true or not. But
we're going with it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fire off in the comments if I'm right.
Fire off in the comments. You get back to the chateau. Arthur reveals that Beatrice is still alive. And then Hugo overhears this, but you lie to him and say that mom's dead. So Hugo decides to go
find mommy.
find mommy by running right into the Inquisition's arms. Then we find.
I mean, best of intentions.
And realistically, what would a kid do? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's been exposed to some shit, but is he going to have common sense? Like, he's a child.
And I mean, nothing bad about it, but he's a mama's boy.
He is.
You know, he wants his
one
mom.
of the only people he's ever really known.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been sequestered away, essentially in hiding for his entire life.
His entire life.
Yeah.
He did have a cool bedroom. When you go up to the bedroom and he had like a badass fort, I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
if you had to be stuck inside, you got a dope fort.
It's the small things.
Yeah, but you'd miss your frogs and stuff.
Yeah.
I also like a lot of these segments. There are certain points though when I was super angry at the gameplay, and there's one section when you're going through the town with everybody, and Roderick's like pushing a cart, a giant like a carriage, and I didn't pick up that you weren't supposed to shoot the people that were shooting at Roderick. You weren't supposed to, but it's set up to where you can. So I kept shooting at him. And then I thought I was hidden, and I just get shot with the bow out of nowhere. And I'd have to hear the same minute before anything started, the exact same dialogue every time. And I wasn't telegraphed what I was supposed to be doing, which I find incredibly frustrating. When the game works, when the stealth and everything is seamless, I'm so on board. When the gameplay becomes repetitive and obtuse to where I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I find it incredibly tedious, and I get angry.
I actually found a little bit more of that, what you're talking about in Requiem.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of a little bit more pervasive in Requiem.
Yeah, and in this day and age, I don't want to see a part of a scene again, ever.
Yeah.
And if I have to run down to this thing, grab this one chest again, because I'm going to want that chest before I can do the start a sequence, which is slow, and then I die for reasons that I don't understand. Yeah, that will make me angry, especially when someone's yelling Amicia the whole time.
Yeah.
You are correct, though. That was by far the most frustrating part of the first game. Because I even was like, come the fuck on. Really? And I wasn't even trying to shoot those guys. I understood that, like, okay, I'm supposed to hide here. Like, just get through the section.
But they're shooting Roderick, and I was like, I'm going to help, but you're not supposed to.
The payoff for that scene overall is worth it in the end because he has his hero moment.
He could have gotten through.
He could have, but it was much more. It was more impactful for him to die. Mm-hmm. But yes, easily the most frustrating part of that game because you will just fucking die out of nowhere. You think you're hidden and you get hit by an arrow. Plus, they sent guys up on the like left side of the cart that you had to fight.
Yeah.
Like you go down a level. So those, you're hidden behind the wall or whatever. And then you have to actually fight guys and then get back behind the cart. It's like, dude, just stop pushing for a minute. Come down here. Let's whoop some ass. And then we can go back and do the slow part.
Mm.
I was so aggravated at this section.
Yeah. And I think developers need to identify like, all right, this is going to be a tough portion of the game, or at least we're intending it to be. The respawn restart point shouldn't be as far back as it is because people are going to hear the same dialogue. They're going to run through the same checklist over and over and over again. It does burn you out.
I also just want to know what's expected of me. And if I just said Roderick had an extra line of dialogue if I died two or three times, says stay behind
me, yeah.
That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And you didn't get it. I don't know. And there was a few sections of this, and man, it got under my skin. Hugo, I like Hugo's gameplay when we get to the Hugo section, though. He's much smaller, and it's zero anything other than stealth, which I found pretty compelling, mostly.
Yeah.
Hugo, we discover, can control rats. Oh, my God.
And now we're really getting out there.
And it's pushing it for me. We're learning more about Vitalis. We're seeing how he's affected with the plague. And luckily, we did cure Hugo to an extent before they got his blood. That's why Vitalis is still kind of ill. But Hugo's able to escape with his mother, right? Or do we save him at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he he's goaded into using his rat powers more to save his mother by Vitalis. And yeah, he can just point at areas and the rats go over there. Mm-hmm. We get to the final battle here. Nicholas. Oh, actually, no. We have another boss battle, which is really nice. This is my preferred boss battle when we fight Nicholas, who comes to the chateau with Hugo, because Hugo is working with the enemies at this point. But Nicholas is just a faceless dickhead. We know nothing about him. Mm-hmm. Darth Maul, whatever. This is great. He's just kind of like a regular soldier, but more intimidating, and he will set himself on fire to get the rats away.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's
props.
Yeah.
If you're fighting a dude and he willingly lights himself on fire, then you
set your
weapon
weapon down. Set your weapon down. You're done. Game's over.
Now we have to go fight Vitalis, and I found this entire boss. Myself personally. What do you guys think of the final boss?
I loved it because it is ridiculously heavy metal. He's throwing pillars of rats at you. He's a pope. Like, it's just fucking, it's chaotic. It was a very easy fight because there's not a whole lot that he does differently. It's just avoid his area of attack, essentially.
Yeah, and with Hugo unchained, basically, like, it's interesting when you, in any video game, especially in this one, when you walk into, like, in this case, you walk into this large church with tall ceilings, big expansive areas, like, shit's gonna go down here.
Yeah,
shit's gonna go down here.
It's like when they load you up with ammo and health packs.
Yep.
And you're like,
it's like, okay, all right, something's bad's gonna happen. You walk in, like, something's really bad gonna happen here, and it's gonna be massive.
Well, Vitalis can control white rats, and Hugo has the power of black rats.
Yeah.
And Vitalis sends towers of rats into the air, and they fall down, and I thought it jumped the shark. To me, it was so out there fucking... It seemed tone deaf, where so much of the game was, like, super grounded and, like, intense, and it was small. To have a Pope throwing towers of ratnados at you, I was just... It lost me. To me, it was the Joker at the end of Arkham Asylum.
Where
he gets super
grew
big
3 times. Yeah.
And it wasn't in line with the Joker, and it was just the fact that they needed a boss fight. And I was so turned off by this final battle. I had to do it more than I should have because, again, it wasn't about intuitive stuff. It was just learn where the towers fall and how it works and die a bunch. For a game like this, it's not about... it's one thing to learn boss patterns in like a Souls game or an action game. There is like you're getting introduced to moves that you've never seen, and it's just learning patterns. And I don't know. I found it unsatisfying myself.
I kind of blame games like God of War for this, where it's like you got to have this massive boss battle to really culminate everything. And like you said, you're introducing new mechanics that this isn't like any other boss battle you've ever fought. I mean, all of a sudden you find out white rats have a special power that you don't have, and it's like, all right, this was just kind of thrown on me last minute, and then now you got to deal with this. What's going on?
It didn't work for me.
I was riding that rat wave. I was like, hell yeah, throw more pillars. This is nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it was just the tone that kind of got thrown out of whack for me.
It is jarring.
Because when it was just a simple tale of a brother and a sister dealing with over-the-top plague, which I'm still in. Mm-hmm. All right, a shitload of rats.
Yeah.
All right, he's chosen one and can control rats. Okay. And now there are giant towers of Pope rats getting thrown at you. And it's one thing if the entire game was that turned up to like 11, but most of the game was just like super small. And I liked the little moments. I liked the smaller character beats. I still was, hugely affected by Amicia and Hugo's tale and what happened to our friends. I didn't care when Roderick died. Whatever.
Oh man, I felt that.
Melly and Arthur, they were fine. I liked Melly enough, and I was ready to be betrayed by everybody.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool that her name was Melly.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Because that's my name.
Oh,
you're a big fan. We do defeat evil Pope monster, though.
I mean, I also might be a little biased in why I like this so much because I am a very big Ghost fan, and they did make an album about the plague.
Stoy's nodding. He knows what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Papa Emeritus the Fourth. Well, it was Cardinal Copia when I played this game. He wasn't a Papa yet.
Okay.
But I was listening to a metal soundtrack that the front man of the band is a demonic pope. And now I'm fighting rats.
I do like demonic pope. I like dying pope from a disease. I like pope who's trying to inject blood in him. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
It was when they were making towers of rats falling on me. I was like, this is too much.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of a... You almost think you would have like for like powers. Like maybe he would throw a wave at you instead of a tornado, I guess. But I kind of... the only song I had in my head at this time was Progenies of the Great Apocalypse or something like that by Dimmu Borgir. Like that's what I had in my head. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it.
I know Dimmu Borgir. It's been a while.
Yeah, but like it's one of their more epic metal, like symphonic, like soundtracks. That's what I had in my head. So naturally, of course, I found a YouTube video where it was like the entire boss fight with that music in the background. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
We're past the boss, and then we see them in a village, Hugo and Amicia, and we see that people are still afraid of Hugo because this fucking kid can control rats and might be drawing the plague. I get it.
I'd be wary too.
Yeah.
There was DLC.
I mean, if this kid doesn't get his frog, like what's gonna happen? Is he gonna just unleash rats on everybody in the village? Like what the hell?
If he ever, I mean, he is. If there's a 1% chance he might go bad, Ben Affleck will kill you.
Yeah,
is the rule. So be afraid of this kid. There was DLC for this game called Coat of Arms, and it was 3 different alternate skins for Amicia and Hugo. Very cool. I don't know if anyone got it, but
I never did.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone wears.
Yeah.
Television series was to be produced by Media One in association with Asobo and Focus Home, announced in March of 2022.
No shit.
This is a fucking Netflix series. If I ever saw it, I would much rather watch this story than play it. And
They're making a show about this?
it was announced in March of 2022. We don't know anything else yet.
Well, yeah, and then the writer's strike probably stopped any forward momentum on that.
So before we talk about Requiem, we need to rank Innocence. So this might be your first ranking, Stoy?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So we're just...
I know I was here when we ranked the BioWare games. I remember that.
Now those aren't
was a long
included
time
on
ago.
here, maybe.
Okay, right.
But so we have a list of currently 47 games, and then it's this or that, and it moves up or down. So we're going to start with Resident Evil 4 Remake or A Plague Tale Innocence.
Resident
Oh my god,
Evil 4.
don't do that, man. Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
I agree. Arkham Knight or A Plague Tale Innocence.
Plague Tale Innocence.
I'd go Arkham Knight.
Come on. Red Hood is the enemy. Jason Todd.
The gameplay is amazing.
That ending pissed me off.
The gameplay is fantastic. That's
That's who the Arkham Knight is? Come on.
I'm going to go Plague Tale.
All right. Yakuza Like a Dragon or A Plague Tale Innocence. If you haven't played the game, you must abstain from the vote.
I'm going to abstain.
I am abstaining.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't played it. Okay.
No.
It doesn't seem fair for me to get to choose, but there's not a lot of games in between there. I guess I would go...
I'm sorry I was triggered over Arkham Knight.
No, it makes sense. You'll be more triggered when
I'm just now envisioning those Batmobile sewer scenarios.
You'll be more triggered when you find out Arkham Knight's above Arkham Asylum.
Who did that? Which one of you did that?
At least Dylan and I.
I was here for a Batman episode.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, I go Yakuza Like a Dragon over A Plague Tale Innocence myself. And then it goes Super Monkey Ball 2 or A Plague Tale Innocence.
Plague Tale.
Yeah, Plague Tale. I mean, I like Monkey Ball too, but
It's an easy Monkey Ball 2 for me, but that puts it at number 34, A Plague Tale Innocence.
Also, how did the Riddler have the time to make all those fucking
I know,
raceways?
like 87 or however many like little hey, I'm just gonna tuck this underneath this.
There's
bridge.
a Pope throwing towers of rats. You guys are worried about the Riddler making tunnels?
There's a lot of those tunnels.
They're huge.
Yeah.
No, I think they're both...
They don't make sewers that big anymore.
I think they're both horrible concepts story-wise, but at least one of them is fun to play.
Yeah.
The Riddler.
And all those AI tanks. Yeah, I just got problems with that game.
The tank battles were pretty weird.
Yeah.
Fun, but not in the Batman universe.
Too much.
Too much
tank battles.
Plague Tale Requiem, same studio and setting.
Get me off of Arkham Knight, please.
Different color palette was decided earlier on.
Gray.
Moved from the gloomy Aquitaine to the Provence. Announced during Microsoft's E3 2021 press conference. This was released October 18th of 2022 for the PS5, Series X, Windows, and Switch on the cloud. Fuck your Switches. I'm a big Switch guy, but not for this game. Over 1 million players within the first month. Received 5 nominations at the Game Awards of 2022, including Game of the Year.
Which I was actually shocked that it got so many nominations.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's deserved.
Yeah.
Out of the two, this one is much better. And just right off the jump, this game is beautiful.
Yeah.
Stunning. It is a stunning game.
Huge.
I was so happy with the graphic jump that we made from Innocence to Requiem. It is a gorgeous game.
Now, I thought with graphical preferences, because I played this on the Series X, because it's currently on Game Pass.
Yep.
And I thought you could set it to favor performance over, what is it, like
quality? Yeah.
Quality?
I think it's performance is like frame rate. Quality is like if you want like ray tracing on and stuff like that.
And I thought that I had set that in the Xbox where it always, I just don't want to drop frames. I want performance.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time where I've noticed a game looked weird to me. And I was like, something's fucking off. And it was by default going for the quality look instead of the performance. And it was very jarring that first chapter before I realized what was up. So, friendly warning, if something might look weird with one of your games, if you're listening, just make sure, because I don't know why anyone would choose the fucking ray tracing and quality over frame drops. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, I tried to play it with... you're okay.
His hand.
You're okay with frame drops.
Listen. When I look at, like... I tried both. Because I always try both to see, like, which one do I prefer? Like, I just remember my experience with Horizon Forbidden West. And I tried that in performance mode, and I was like, wow, this runs really smooth, but I'm looking at this bush, and this bush looks like shit. Like, the texture is just like... Because obviously they have to drop it to 1080p. It's not in, like, original 4K, so the quality is just garbage. And, you know, I'm looking at puddles in the road, and I can't see reflections and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. Give me 30 frames a second, you know, but high quality.
Some games can't handle 30 frames a second at that quality, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's where I have issues.
Yeah, and that's just bad game design. Like, I remember trying that with when Cyberpunk first came out.
Yeah. Well, there's a few issues there.
A couple. There was a couple. 100,000.
Keanu.
Johnny fucking Silverhands.
Johnny fucking Silverhands. And you know, the other game too, very nominated. And Requiem and Innocence, both extremely nominated games. Didn't win almost anything, though, across the board, which is interesting to note. But it was nominated for Game of the Year. Gameplay, mostly the same. For Requiem, though, much more open. Almost every map has so many different solutions, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, like I said, I played 1, and then like 2 days later, after beating 1, this came out, and I had already pre-ordered it at that point. Mm-hmm. So I went straight into the second story, and having those open fucking environments where now I feel like a badass because I just beat the first one. I know what I'm doing here. It really lets you kind of paint the canvas however you want.
Until your little alchemist friend, he says, remember how to make ignifer when that happened last time? And I was like, yeah, I fucking remember the plague, dude.
Yeah, right.
It was 4 months ago. I don't know. To me, to be like, have to be recoached by the person. To me, I don't forget that. But it is a game. It's a video game, I guess.
Well, I can only imagine some people jumping in on Requiem, like maybe never even heard of Innocence, because it's not like it says A Plague Tale 2 Requiem.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, who knows? Someone could have maybe jumped in and been like, "Oh, there was a first one."
This game, everything's perfectly fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. You start off with your little tutorial. You are learning how to do stealth mode again.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah, you're living in a nice small town, quaint small town.
The first chapter, you're fighting like beekeepers, and I was super pumped that they would be the new enemy, but they're not.
Yeah,
No.
I was pumped on them, though. I thought they looked really dehumanized with their masks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Hugo has to summon rats to save a boy that he made friends with, and he blacks out, and shit gets out of control very quickly. You're quickly murdering people again
Yeah.
to save your family.
Yeah. That's, I mean, it had,
and then
its tail as old as time.
Hugo wakes up. It's like, oh man, what happened? My head hurts. It's like, yeah, you just killed like 80 people back there.
You killed a guy. Where did you get those rats, dude?
You might want to lay low for a little bit.
Brick, where did you get a grenade?
Just laugh.
Stab the guy with a trident.
He starts dreaming of islands and birds, and they're pushing it into a new chosen one territory for this game. Hugo, something big and bad is coming for him. And it's the Prima Macula is evolving, and it's becoming a bigger deal. They think by moving to Provence, they'll be closer to the head of the alchemist group, the union. And
Which they have good intentions, right? They really want to take care of him, right?
They totally won't do anything
They
bad.
totally won't do anything bad to him.
don't they want to take care of him a little bit?
I mean,
They want to cure him a little bit.
I mean, maybe.
Vaudon is his name. We find out we have this great section where it's a pretty festival and everyone's happy, and then someone opens a door and it's like fucking hell behind it. Like
Well, yeah, you go to the Coliseum or something like that,
Yeah.
and then that was when it was like there was just like dead carcasses everywhere, and you're just like, this is right outside the town. What the fuck?
Yeah.
close the door.
Yeah, right. I'm just gonna put a blanket over it.
The gameplay, you interact differently. Instead, it's more of like a weapon wheel that you can slide around, and instead you have your stone or your pot, and then from there you customize it inside of there instead of having different options of.
That took me a while to get. Like I wasn't used to that. I'm used to like a weapon wheel where it's like something I can just kind of like access on the fly, but then it's like click, 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 just to access pots.
Yeah, coming fresh off the first one and getting, really acquainted with that system and then having to learn a new system, I found kind of jarring. But
Yeah.
I do think I prefer twos overall.
Yeah, once I got used to it, and it was obviously a lot of times I would just default to using just two different things anyway. But it's kind of like hard to learn, easy to master kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That's the right words.
It just takes an extra little bit of time to acclimate yourself to the gameplay. I did not finish this game. I couldn't do it. I was fucking furious and I was upset. And there's a section where I'm supposed to save this guy, and then he gets killed, and then Lucas says, "Oh, why would you do that? You let him die."
Was that the?
Yeah.
It's telegraphed. Like
Was that the gardener guy?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
And
You
it's-
know
you know
that
how
doesn't
many
matter?
Yeah. and
No, it doesn't, but it's telegraphed.
Yeah.
It's telegraphed so hard that I could have saved him, and why would I
Dude,
let that
I was
happen?
on that part for 2 hours.
Dude,
I looked
played-
up every YouTube
yes.
video I could.
It is impossible.
It really is impossible.
No, but then Google even says it is possible to save him.
yeah, I did.
Do you know how fucking hard it is, though?
Yeah.
Well, and
I
then
tried
fi-
for forever to
and then, I,
save that
and then I
guy.
found out nothing changes if you do accidentally save him because you're not supposed to. And I was just like so over it. I was tired of throwing fucking rocks.
I was hoping we would talk about this scene because I remember
I
being
was
on
waiting
that.
for it.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I really hope we talk about that.
and
It
they
is-
make it seem like you're not supposed to like you could have stopped it. And it's one of those things where this game doesn't telegraph what's happening.
Yep.
And I'm not the guy that wants a waypoint on a map saying, go here, do this. But if I'm that confused by a super simple fucking story beat, I was like, no, I'm upset and this is affecting me and I'm not playing it. I made a
You put your foot down.
I made a rare judgment call where I'm like, this isn't good for me anymore.
Okay.
I-
Well, you got to think about your mental health first.
And Yeah, and it was not involving Hugo's rats anymore.
Yeah.
I totally feel where you're coming from because I was pissed off at this point. I'm like, how the fuck do I save him?
Yeah.
I at least wanted an achievement out of it. Give me an achievement point.
Yeah.
You know, something. And when I finally did it after a couple hours, and I was like, that was it. He runs away, and it was like, okay. And I'm waiting for that little sound, that little achievement sound. Nothing.
I tried for probably a solid hour and a half to save him.
Yep.
And then I was like, fuck it. I don't even care anymore. He can die. And then I just moved on with my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you had to keep him in the light, and then you had these 2 guards, so you had to bring one guard away, knock him out, and then the other guard you had to draw him away, but not too far away because he had to die within the light, but like the guy had to be in. Oh man.
I do love the sections though, like we had mentioned, where this game is much more open and your approaches to go through things, and you can be Rambo.
Yep.
One thing that they illustrate early on in this game is her anger and taking it out by killing people when Lucas gets taken, and she just fucking goes apeshit.
Yeah, the garden scene where she's in that kind of like manner, and then she just goes apeshit on that guy, where all of a sudden just like the whole screen turns red, and she's just, man.
It's almost like she's like has like PTSD from previous events, and
Understandably.
she's just breaking down.
Yeah.
And the only way she can move forward is just with pure aggression. Mm-hmm. I found it to be one of the more interesting parts of this game.
That's why I resonated with Amicia more in the second one than in the first one, because it was just, you could see it kind of taking a toll on her mentally.
Yeah, like the first game actually had like psychological weight behind it for her. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know of a game and its sequel that focuses on your main player, your main character's mental health due to the events of a previous game. Like that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. You don't see that often. Like in some cases, you see sequels where it's just like they become more emboldened, or they just become harder, or they become like a little bit more put together. Whereas
Max
with her,
Payne just drinks more.
Yeah, exactly. He just swallows.
I don't even know what Sora does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
like just those stories alone. How the hell do you keep track of that, Sora? I don't understand Kingdom Hearts. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there. Why?
Yeah, there is a
why does that exist?
There's a Patreon episode that it was the most hungover episode that I've ever done.
I remember listening to that because at the time I was like, I need to understand Kingdom Hearts, and you guys did nothing to help me.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We did everything we could.
Yeah, I know, and I'm sorry. I just can't. Anyway,
Vodan is the Mr. Alchemist, and he tries to help Hugo. He says, "Yeah, I can't help him. There's this tower we lock people up in, though, and we really want to take them to this tower." And you get to the boat after running away from all of the rats, and you decide after your boat gets attacked that you and Hugo are doing something different. We're leaving everyone. We're going to this island ourselves, which we're being drawn to. We think we know where the island is.
And Amicia has fully bought into the protector role. She believes Hugo. Like, she is on board with, like, this is my little fucking brother, and I'm gonna be big sister sort of thing.
well, it's almost like she tries really hard to just like, I just want my brother to have a normal life. Like, you get these glimpses of humanity that Hugo has where he's like, he's playing on a stream. He wants to meet other kids his age, where he like wants to be a boy, and she wants to try to really pave the way for that. But like, she's becoming dismayed because she can't provide that.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is, because the mom can't be a mom, unfortunately. So this is where Amicia has to step in, and even like they have those conversations together, like in the house, where she's like, "You have to be strong for your brother," and she's like, "I just want my brother to be a kid,"
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the heartbreaking reality that happens to a lot of people in the real world. Some kids don't get to be kids.
Yeah.
And Hugo, unfortunately, can control 20,000 rats and fights popes.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, he's under different circumstances than the kids these days.
How do you go back and watch Paw Patrol after that?
Right? I'm kidding.
It's over, man.
You're an adult now, man.
Yeah,
You are very adult, dude.
In fact, you gotta start paying taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a job, bro.
And see that guy over there? He's in the way. Send your rats.
Oh man.
We run into a man named Arno. He's a thief, and then he's our friend. And it turns out he just wants us to kill a dude with rat power.
Yeah.
I liked his little side story. Plus, he's a likable character because he's
His French voice actor, man. Oh,
Yeah.
ASMR to my ears.
I gotta play this game in French.
Yeah, just ASMR to my ears.
It seems like the only way almost.
I'm not going to tell you one way or another what to do, but play it in French.
Arno introduced us to the smuggler Sophia, pirate lady.
I like her.
Chef's kiss. Very cool.
Yeah.
We are big fans of Sophia here. We need to free her boat. And then we set sail for Lacuna. And Lacuna is where allegedly everything's going to be solved.
Yeah.
And then we meet the Count of Lacuna and his wife, Emily.
Who I distrusted immediately.
Oh, immediately.
You are way too nice.
I've known too many counts in literature and fiction to trust any of them.
I'm like, I don't-
Unless your last name is Chocula, you're not in my book.
Yeah. Here, let's get you your own room. Let's get you all this food. My service will tend to your every need. And Hugo's like, great, let's go. And it's like, I don't know.
Do you get Paw Patrol?
Do you have Netflix?
Yeah.
You got any frogs?
Well, we find out Arno is like, dude, kill him now. Kill that dude. You're
Yeah.
like, calm down, bro. And you get Arno caught for that transgression. But you find out this island, there might be something going on, and you go exploring. Chapter 9 is when we run into the Tales and Revelations is the name of the chapter. You explore the island with Sophia. You find a ruined sanctuary, an ancient order temple. And I put down Eyes Wide Shut happens. People in cult robes. You see a lot of weird shit going down. They worship, what do they call it? Like the Kid of Blood or something they call him?
Yeah. Like the Kid Rat God or something like that.
The Child of Embers.
Yeah.
I like Kid Rat.
That was the first, he was the first plague kid, right? That was
The Child of Embers
the Child of Embers, yeah.
I believe, until they want to add more games, Castlevania style. We wind up learning of the previous carrier, Basilius, and his protector, Alias. We find Alias's track. We learn about them being very much an Amicia and a Hugo. And we get to the Cradle of Centuries, where we learn that Basilius was the carrier of the macula around 541 AD for Justinian's plague. He was subjected to inhumane experiments by the cult. Aelia was imprisoned and Basilius locked up. He went full macula, but was so far underground, the world did not end. And they kind of worship this kid's corpse underground.
Yeah.
It's still tied up.
I mean, that was like just the scope and size of that entire sequence and that entire section of just like, I'm just going to take these stairs and go underground. And all of a sudden it's like these massively constructed, like, caverns and underground temples and just, man, it's wild.
And it's cool. When you have the revelation on why it exists, on like, okay, if this kid does go full berserk, full macula,
yeah, because that's when you take the stairwell down all the way to the bottom.
He will be so far underground it won't affect the surface. Like that's the only way to stop it.
And it still almost killed the planet.
Yeah. It was, once I had that revelation, I'm like, yo, this is so fucking heavy metal, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we're learning that this is Hugo's path. Amicia comes under the belief that as long as she's there to care for Hugo, because Aelia wasn't, as long as she's there to be with Hugo, it can stop him from becoming the monster that he could be. You get out and you believe you're escaping the island, but a soldier says, hey, your mom and Lucas are hanging out in the castle. You should come with us. Turns out it's not that case. What happens up there, Stoy?
Was that the scene where they all of a sudden like yeah, I suppose this is spoilers, where they really kill her this time?
Yes. Emily kills your mom.
Whew.
Count Victor tries to kill you. He reveals that his wife is infertile and that they want to raise Hugo as their own.
Because they want to have a rat kid.
But maybe killing his biological mother was the first misstep.
Or maybe it's the first step. I've seen enough movies.
Well, that's one of those things. I think they wanted to see his power. They wanted to fully unleash the power. And what way to do it than to kill his own mother in front of him on this stage?
Unfortunately for them, though, Hugo rats the shit out of them.
Well, yeah, they didn't really think that through.
I was waiting for a moment like this. Like, Hugo's going to lose it at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just hit the count where it hurts.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when the city, because rat, I like using rat as a verb.
He rats them.
He rats them hard.
Rats the hell out of them.
Amicia, check it out.
Yeah.
Check out what I could do.
I just killed 2,000 people. Can we go home?
Instantly.
I miss mom.
Oh, wait. Mom's dead. Shit.
For real this time, the island is being destroyed, and this is when this is when the macula starts speaking through Hugo. It's straight up, Danny's not here, Mrs. Torrance. Yeah. Someone else is controlling Hugo at this point, saying the son's gonna fucking die. Not a good look. I would be worried.
Yep.
Yep.
This was definitely like, it was a long sequence because it was like, once you see that turn, there was still plenty of game left to just watch this like slow decay of his brain.
Yeah.
And just knowing, like, when you go down all the way down and then you find out like the only way to stop this is for literally him to just be buried. Like, Hugo's going to die. There is no coming out of this.
At best, a clean death.
Yes.
And when you realize that, like, now, because you are trying to protect your little brother, when you realize that he has to die, and Amicia is starting to get the vibe.
Yeah.
She's starting to, like, if I'm with him, I can protect him and everything will be fine. But when she sees the scope of what he does to the Count's fucking island,
Yeah.
that's when she starts to realize that this might be beyond my control. And as the player, we're thinking the same thing.
I mean, Amicia even just like what Amicia has to go through during that sequence too, in front of the stage or whatever, she gets like broken by that dude, that guard.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy too. But, just, man, the torment she has to go through just to do what she has to do. And then, ugh.
The death of Innocence, the death of everything she loves.
Yeah, exactly. And just knowing that
Requiem.
everything you've done at this point has been almost for nothing.
Was there a turret vehicle warfare section? Is there a section where she's like controlling like a flamethrower or some like light on a moving vehicle?
I believe so.
Yeah, that was I
think
when you were escaping the island.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like
shine the light.
You're just going to village. You're just going from like farmhouse to farmhouse, and it's like you're bringing the rats with you. Like, it's one of those things that was like, you're just, no matter where you're going, the destruction's just following you the entire way.
Yeah, I like I said, I didn't beat this game, but I watched some stunning sequences where the rats are beyond Hugo's control and everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those those escape sequences. Those are really great.
This one works really well too, because when you get to the island and you're going, before you discover the temple and everything, it's daytime and you're able to walk this path and you see this. I mean, the game's stunning. You're walking through these farms and you're going to that temple, whatever.
Yep.
Then it's nighttime. It's scary. It's the same path that we walked before, but it is being destroyed by the rats at night. And the juxtaposition from the idyllic summer vibe that we had a minute ago to just complete destruction is just like, oh my God. I loved it.
And it kind of makes even just like traversing those areas better and easier, because it's like, oh, I've been here. I know this scene.
Yep.
Or I know this area, or I know this is the path that I got to walk down. And it's like, you don't think about that the first time you go through it. It's like you're walking through, it's like, oh, this is a nice little area, nice little farmlands out here and everything. And then all of a sudden, like, 2-3 hours later.
There were some sequences in the first game where you have to revisit old spots. And I wish that there were more landmarks to remind you of the physical location in some of these, where it's like you are revisiting a spot where there's like, if there was just one windmill, I'm like, oh, okay. It kind of would place me in a spot better.
Well, yeah, I think there was like, even just like going into the temple entrance and in the island, there was multiple ways to get there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like you're looking and it's like, I suppose I could take this back way, or I could go straight up the gut, or I could do all these other different methods. And it kind of reminded those Breath of the Wild moments where it's like, that's your target. Get there however you want.
You don't even have to touch the ground in Tears of the Kingdom if you don't want to, apparently.
Yeah, just like jump off the cliff and just hang glide all the way down.
Someone did beat Tears of the Kingdom with that not ever going to the surface.
I heard about this.
Yeah, wild.
Wild.
King Hugo is our final chapter here. Hugo has unleashed a massive cloud of nebula, is what it's called, that would allow the rats to spread uncontrolled everywhere by blocking out the sun. You need to reach the city gates and then reach the nebula where natural laws cease to exist. You are in the Upside Down. You are in the Nether Realm. You are in a physicsless world, and you start hallucinating and fighting rat people. Anyone care to explain?
I still have no idea.
It's like, yeah, the Upside Down's a good way of putting it, but you enter like a hellish dream world landscape where it feels like you're just going to run in one direction for forever. And there is a lot of time spent where like you don't know where you're going or what you're supposed to do.
And that's where I was kind of confused, because it's like, is she hallucinating this herself, or is this real? Like, is she mentally coming to terms with the fact that her brother's going to die?
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's nothing that she could do about it. Like, it's kind of her own personal torment, where she is the protector. She's supposed to protect her little brother, and she's been charged by her mother, her family, all these people. Like, you have to protect Hugo. Like, that's your job and that's your role. And she's become so possessed by that idea that all of a sudden now she's like, you know, at the worst, you know, and, you know, what was it? Lucas pops in to help her a little bit. And it's like, all you got to do is go to that large ass rat tree at the end of it. And just even that scene at the end, I was like, I froze for a bit, because I was like, is this the only option? Is there like a Mass Effect 3 type ending where you could just walk away and then that's it?
It was like getting kicked by a horse.
Yeah, it really was.
You could see the writing on the wall with what Hugo's fate was going to be, but I didn't think they had the balls to do it.
Yeah.
I did not expect them to put you in the situation where
do it.
You got to kill him.
Yeah.
There was only one way it could ever go. And you don't actually have to kill him either.
There's two ways it happens. He dies regardless.
Lucas calls you a little bitch and does it himself.
Yeah.
I was told when I said on the Discord, I'm not finishing it. I can't do it. And it was RV Gamer. He said, just make sure to watch a video of the ending. You need to, like, that's the set piece that I think is the defining moment for both games.
Yeah.
It culminates in that moment where you are facing Hugo sitting on a throne of rats in a sea of black, and you have your trusty sling. Luckily, you always headshot with it, so you don't.
I mean, you know, one way to suffer less. That would be the day to miss. Oh shit!
I mean, I pulled it up on my phone just so I could see it, like as we get to this portion of the game.
Heavy metal.
Yeah, pretty metal.
I'm gonna go out there and say that it is one of the most stunning things I've seen in a video game in my entire life, and for whatever reason, I think just because of the impact it has on the story and how well it was executed, this moment has stuck with me since I played the game, and I find myself often thinking about it.
Yeah.
Just still in awe that it caught me so off guard like that.
Yeah. And even like the fact that it slows down, like it's not just like, bam, that's it. And then the screen goes black. Like it slows it down to where it's like you're swinging and you're swinging and you're swinging, and it's like it's slow motion. So it just carries more weight, you know, it's like, okay, all right, just end this already.
And playing it on the PlayStation 5, if I recall correctly, there's haptic feedback with the sling.
Oh, yeah.
And at that moment, you feel like you're feeling the weight of it. And that's just another, awesome thing about the PlayStation 5 controller is that it can add to that immersion in moments like that.
Like I said, I think that whole world, you know, in my head, because sometimes, because I suffer from like Silent 2 brain, where I think everything is a manifestation of your nightmares.
Silent Hill 2 brain?
Yeah, Silent Hill 2, the number 2 brain.
Sure.
Not 2 brains, Silent Hill 2 brain.
I see what you mean, though.
Where like everything I think is like a manifestation of your inner nightmares.
Yep.
So I was thinking that whole scene of like, you know, obviously...
She might wake up and Hugo's fine.
Yeah, or she might wake up and like, you know, standing over Hugo's corpse and everyone watching like, what the hell did you just do?
Yeah.
But... You know, so I imagine that whole sequence like in my head, like, oh, this is all in her head. This is all in her. This is her nightmare, like reborn or born.
And if they did let Hugo live after that sequence, it would undercut all of the feels, all of the tension that it spent so much time earning. It would. Do
you guys remember Prince of Persia?
Never played it.
The Nolan North. Prince of Persia.
Okay, I was going to say the movie because I remember the Jake Gyllenhaal classic.
Yeah.
but
That actually wasn't so bad.
compared to Assassin's Creed, it was goddamn Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I'll say. But Prince of Persia was like kind of like, it was like a game where you couldn't die. Like you were so overpowered. The princess you had that was like, you know, she's like, my father corrupted the entire world. Let's go bring beauty back. And spoilers for anybody that hasn't played it. I mean, it's like a 15-year-old game at this point, but spoilers if you have it. Like the story was that she dies. Her dad resurrects her, but at the cost of like corrupting the entire world. So when you're going together to kind of bring beauty back into the world, it's like, okay, all right, well, that was what was holding her back. So she dies. So you're sitting there and you're standing over a corpse, and you know, the guy the protector is like, well, you know what? I'm going to bring her back to life. And the whole world just like turns into corruption once again. Mm-hmm. And then the DLC is like, hey, you got to do that all over again. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it was like dumbfounding to me. And I was like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, this isn't how the game is supposed to end. But like, you're walking with her corpse and it's like, yeah, I want her back alive again. And I was like, no, so even though the ending was so like, you didn't want to do it. You knew a couple hours before this scene. It's like you had to.
It's the only thing that could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
They will spare you though. You could let Lucas do it, which feels extremely disappointing.
Yeah, because I watched the video of that, and granted, not much has changed, but like Lucas is like, huh, I'm disappointed, and just
Yeah.
And I think the only way to do it is do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like that just leaves such a big fucking hole in the story if you have Lucas do it for you. Mm-hmm. But damn, if it is not one of the most cinematic moments I've ever seen in a game.
Yeah. Like I said, going back to just how just the ending like culminated everything, where it was like you probably I'm pretty sure you imagine this. Like I imagine this from the get-go. This ain't gonna be a happy ending.
No.
Like this kid's gonna die. There's no way to just like, hey, on this island, there's a magic cure. Yeah. Like, I'm just tired of like those tropes in video games and movies where it's like, hey, go to this island and there'll be a magic cure and everything's going to work out.
It's the game uses MacGuffins quite a bit, especially in the first one, and with this one, like the island doesn't mean anything.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
It's just a way for people under stress to think like, oh man, maybe somewhere out there there's a way out of this. There's a place where this doesn't exist. And that's just the human brain trying to cope with whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
And Amicia is dealing with a lot currently. Mm-hmm. She is eventually going to have to kill her brother. She has PTSD from previous events. And like she's lost her innocence and become somewhat of a monster.
Yeah.
Like it's not unfounded to think that, yeah, I'd be dreaming about a paradise too.
Well, and I go back to that scene in the garden where like she becomes like hugely unchained to where her world changes in that scene. Yeah. And that was like the second most powerful scene for me, where it was
I'm
like
getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Because like I'm thinking like when she's on the ground and that you see that giant behemoth of a knight come forward and like ready to kill her, and she's just like, I'll fucking kill you, and all of a sudden just bam, 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 night after night after night, just like
and she's
fall
like,
into a rage.
The voice actress is phenomenal too, because she's
listen to it in French. My God,
I got to now.
You have to do it in French because it just I don't know, just maybe just French actors and actresses in general play their roles with more emotion.
I hate to quote The Matrix Reloaded ever. But the Merovingian.
Oh my God.
He says something about cussing in French. It's like wiping your ass with silk or something like that.
Yeah.
And the French language has a unique ability.
Do either of you guys know any swear words in French?
No.
Because I know I can swear.
Merde? I can't say it right. It's almost the same as Spanish.
I was going to say that's Spanish. Yeah.
It's almost the exact same though.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't say it. It's going to sound Spanish.
I mean, even when French people say fuck, it's still cool. Yeah. Their accent's just cool.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, that scene, turned it around for me to where it's like, oh, she definitely took on the role of protector, even though she probably was like, she had hope. And I think that was the reason for like, kind of like the whole like BioShock, there's a lighthouse, it's like, okay, here's the island. Go to the island. Yeah. Everything will work itself out.
There's always a Troy Baker is the point of that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And where there's not, there's Nolan North.
Well, but there is always a Troy Baker.
Yeah.
Every game, it just shows every game ever. And there's a Troy Baker somewhere doing something.
Yep. And he's your saver. That's what we were missing in this game. Troy Baker.
He actually voiced Rat number 19,000.
Probably.
See, I wouldn't have known that because I was playing
you
in a
couldn't
French.
tell with that guitar solo?
All the rats had French accents in my version. So
It's also cool.
Le squeak.
It's cool the way they explain his dreams he's having. It's actually the corpse of Basilius calling out to him to bring him to that island. There was never anything that was going to save him there.
Yeah, and that we were talking about that when you were gone, to where it was like that was like a symbol of hope. And I hate when video games and movies do that, to where it's like, go to this island and everything will work itself out, and then the writers will just come in and say like, hey, here's this magic potion that was created a long time ago, or here's like, this machine that's going to cure it, but like it was never finished, but now you can finish it.
The plots for these games are not perfect. It's not a very perfectly written A plus B will lead to C. It's we needed something to do and a character to move there. I still the characters are so well fleshed out.
That's where
and
it
the
really
dialogue
shines.
it's great. To me though, a lot of the plot, it just seems something had to happen to get our characters to the point we want, instead of this leads into that a little bit.
I think the island was a hole in the narrative, because once we discover the Child of Embers and the ball really gets rolling and Hugo goes full macula, I feel like the plot couldn't be stronger. Like, because
that was the thing, because it was
they just
like
had to get there.
Yeah, it's so dismaying to like see them kind of go from like point to point, and it's like, all right, here's people that will help. Here's people that can, help them, or here's people that will take care of them, or, finally they have a little bit of peace. And it's like, all of a sudden it's like disappointment after just like, soul crushing disappointment. And it's like, man, are they ever going to catch a break? So you think the island is like, by all means, like that has to be it.
There's going to be something.
There's got to be something. And then it's like, you get there and it's like, oh man, it's not.
It turns out there's no hope in the world anymore.
No, there just really isn't.
Turns out it was just a copy of Michael Bay's early 2000 hit The Island, starring Scarlett Johansson and Ewan McGregor.
No,
wow, that was
has anyone seen that movie?
I have.
Oh,
It's a great movie.
It is actually a pretty good movie. Good social commentary, I guess.
1 year.
Rich people making clones of themselves.
Well, it's going to happen.
Yeah. 1 year
There's
later.
going to be 10 Elon Musks by next year. You watch.
Shut your mouth. 1 year.
That's a bad time to drink.
1 year later, Amicia and Sophia are going to visit Hugo's grave.
She cut her hair.
I don't believe Sophia changes her outfit over a year, which is alarming.
No, she just did laundry, and that's her A1 outfit.
Oh, okay.
Well, everybody has a favorite T-shirt.
But the same pants and jewelry.
Everybody has the same favorite pants. I mean,
The pair visit Hugo's grave, and then they plan to leave messages for the next carrier. Post-credit sequence. It's a baby in modern times. You can tell from the sound effects, and also it seems to be in a modern hospital. There's a baby which has the macula.
I did not expect that.
I didn't expect that to jump that far. Because we're talking that's like a 500, 600 year jump.
But 541 to 1400.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
So if anything, it's actually could have been longer. They should have had it been in 2500 in outer space. Where there's no rats, so you're totally fine on Mars. You're
Then we have Dead Space.
Then you shoot out Hugo 3.0. You shoot him out into outer space. Like, you can't hurt us out there.
So
They're just rats, the towers of rats going to outer space following him.
So here's my question. Would you prefer, because we have two ways that, so say if Asobo is making a third one, which I have no idea if they are, would you prefer the modern time, or would you prefer maybe like a prequel to like, this is what happened with the first?
I would prefer a prequel.
I would too. I really honestly don't want a modern version.
That's the only way to make it exciting for me. If you take away less technology, the gameplay is just going to be that same stuff,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The gameplay is the weakest element of these games, in my opinion. And if they took it to the modern times, just the sheer amount of things that could create light they'd have to be so inventive and create a story around modern times and dealing with it. It could be very cool.
I'm envisioning Sam Fisher being the protector.
Sure.
Because I'm thinking about like the old Splinter Cell games where it's like you have to like shoot out the lights in order to sneak through.
Well,
So
how about this?
the future Amicia has a silenced pistol.
It does.
Now, if we wanted to be cool, it could be who's the Mandalorian actor?
Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
I know, right?
Oberyn.
That's not the answer.
Oberyn
Oberyn Martell. How am I blanking on that too?
Pedro Pascal.
There we go.
It's Pedro Pascal, and he is the uncle who has to come hang out with a niece because it's a girl this time.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know you. It's straight The Last of Us at this
Yeah,
point.
you're just describing The Last of
Okay.
Us.
But he gets stuck with this kid, but that's if it was cool. But it's actually Nicolas Cage, and the hero is an older person. It's an older protector. It's not just like a sibling. Mix it up a little bit, and yeah, I don't know. You got a little girl who's got the macula, and then you go rural. You start in a big city, but you can't base gameplay around it, so you have to go smaller very quickly.
Then
to
you
make it
choose
work.
Chicago as where you start.
Well, now I'm
and then
thinking
you
the
move into
movie The Professional.
and then it ends up in northern Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Well.
you fight.
It takes place in Door County.
Yep. There you go. And you
it's-
destroy several wineries while people are like, "Is that a rat in a bag?"
And there's just drunks getting killed everywhere.
Yeah. There's like cheesehead collectibles. I'd like that. I did just do a quick Google to find out if there's a third one, and it looks
Not yet.
They are doing something. It could be DLC for 2, but that
I
is a
hope
little
not.
late.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's
that's
not late. The game just came out last year.
Yeah, last year around this time, I think.
I feel like it's been a long time.
That's because a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, but it looks
A
like
lot
there-
of games have happened since then.
Yeah.
It looks like there will be a third one based off multiple job postings from the studio.
Must have experience with rats and plagues.
Yes. 30,000 rats to be exact. We're pushing the hardware.
Let's rank this puppy.
Okay.
Resident Evil 4 remake or a Plague Tale
Nothing's
Requiem?
going to beat Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah, I got to go Resident Evil 4.
I, of course, cannot vote since I didn't finish it.
Oh my God. Didn't you just record an episode?
I do my research, man.
I know.
I talked about the entire lore of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Oh, no, Diablo. I did all of the
Yeah.
Diablo lore. And
Oh, wow.
I only played Diablo 3 for like 3 hours. I got the books. I read the books, though. Great lore. A Plague Tale Innocence or a Plague Tale Requiem?
Requiem.
Super Mario RPG or a Plague Tale Requiem?
I have to abstain.
Requiem.
That's a lot of power right there.
It's on
I
you.
mean, Super Mario RPG, I just could give two shits about.
Dredge or a Plague Tale Requiem?
Requiem.
Never played Dredge.
You have the vote then.
Dredge is a fantastic game, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that puts a Plague Tale Requiem at number 29.
All right.
Solid, respectable.
Yeah, I say.
Right below Resident Evil 4 Remake. So that is very respectable.
These aren't like super polished 100% perfect games, but I've picked them because I feel like the story will hit people in an emotional spot.
And I agree with you that sometimes the combat can be very repetitive because
Yes.
you are doing the same thing a lot. Even though Requiem kind of diversified it a little bit with
Thank God
having
for that
more
crossbow.
open areas and like giving you at least a little bit more weapons, and even like the knives were kind of a nice thing, and then even like crafting your own weapons, like that was kind of cool to add a little bit of diversity to it. But I can definitely feel like sometimes it's like, oh God, another long combat scenario.
It's just there's a lack of polish, I think, or like a finishing touches on this game where it was so close to being something that I would love, but it's more based on cinematic narrative storytelling rather than a gameplay focused experience. And I've just been shifting towards gameplay.
Oh, I'm a cinematic guy.
Yeah, give me all the cinematic.
Well, give me
Experiences.
inject Bloodborne and Elden Ring into my veins, and that's where I live.
If they could find a way to do both.
Well, I just don't. I mean, I do appreciate cutscenes, but it's just sometimes there's these wonky sequences that they're too repetitive, they're too obtuse, and if I knew what was expected of me and they didn't punish me with watching multiple sequences multiple times to do one redo, it's when I fail and I don't know how it's my fault that I find it incredibly frustrating, and my patience is growing thinner as I grow wiser
Yeah,
or drunker.
I don't know.
more fragile
Less
and old.
patient.
Yeah,
Maybe.
But I think they're great games. I think they're great, and I love Amicia. I love Hugo. I love these characters, and I love this world. I would love so much to get an 8-part HBO Max series of this. That's what I would prefer than any other game. I would rather just watch some really good fucking Netflix shows.
Yeah, I mean, this would make a great show. I am excited at the idea of a third one. I'm definitely going to play it if they make one.
Mm-hmm. Innocence would make a good 2.5-hour, 2-hour movie. That there's enough story beats for only one really good long movie there. I think.
Requiem would have to be a series.
Yep.
There's so much that happens.
Like
so many.
a 1-season series.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Innocence could be a movie.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I think it could too. But yeah, I mean, like we talked about earlier, it's just the connection between Amicia and Hugo that really is just sold. Yeah, granted, the story is just like a run-of-the-mill, hey, you have this virus and you have to find a way to cure it. And, oh, no, you can't cure it. Too bad. But, you know, you have to, like, give me a reason to care about the characters and to really kind of get me pushing through this story. Because, I mean, obviously, writing good characters is kind of harder than it looks. You have to get me to care about the characters. Otherwise, I don't care how good your story is or how good your lore is or your your mythology or whatever. You know, I need to care about these characters. I need to give me motivation for why I feel like I should be continuing. You know, and for me, that's where I latched onto this really hard, especially with the second one. Like I said, that garden scene that I was talking about earlier, that was like, I was like, oh man, this is.
And for there to be a story I was that invested in, and the gameplay failed me so hard, failed me specifically, and the fact that I wanted to know more, but I couldn't get my head around what they wanted me to do gameplay wise, I found that double sad, double disappointing to me. If I was ranking this game, which I'm not allowed, it would be below Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, no.
It would be the bottom game of the entire list for me.
That's impressive.
If you want me to be,
I don't know how to feel about that.
If you want
I've never played Kingdom Hearts 3.
If you want me to be uncensored, this is a Telltale game with bad gameplay.
I like Telltale games.
Oh man, I'm just playing The Expanse.
Telltale games, though,
Yeah, because that's Telltale back in form now.
It's good storytelling, but the shittest gameplay you'll ever play.
Did you ever play the Game of Thrones one?
I beat it. It was one of my only platinum trophies.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. I hated every second of it.
Loved it.
I fucking hate those games.
I loved and hated it at the same time because at one point I was like, everybody dies at the end. But then again, that's how the show is. Everybody dies at the end.
Yeah, when you have to make the choice between like killing yourself or killing your brother.
Yeah.
And that one fight, I'm like, I like both of those dudes.
My buddy Robbie back in the Twin Cities, it was before Game of Thrones was playing, like the next episode was on in like an hour, and he came over and I was playing the Telltale game. And he's like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. It's some Game of Thrones game. I have to do this thing. I don't know. And he's like, do you like it? I said, no. He's like, why are you playing it? I'm like, I don't know. Well, I mean, because I'm unfortunately bound to anything that said Game of Thrones at the time.
Well, even like at the end where it's like the servant girl or something like that, where it's like, oh, I wonder if there's a way to save her. And there really isn't.
Yeah.
Do you want to stick around and do another 30-minute Doggies After Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a tease then for everyone if you want to hear this continuing conversation.
Because we're getting for me too.
Because we're getting into just fun discussions about other things, and I want to save that. So, Stoy, if people wanted to find out more from you or follow you, how could they do so?
I'm on Instagram now.
Because you used to run a fantastic podcast.
Yep, EXP Cast, and we were running for 4 or 5 years, and a lot of the guys kind of went our separate ways. So as a result, the podcast is no more. But so I'm a free agent. And just kind of like dabbling into thinking like what else do I want to do? I still am passionate about video games. So, you may see me around more in some capacity. But
I would love that.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I share my little adventures. Stoy MKE8. So I was just at a metal concert.
Who did you see?
Orbit Culture.
I don't know.
They're a Swedish metal band.
Did you go to Baby Metal?
No, I didn't. I kind of wanted to, just to kind of see what the crowd was. Just to kind of see what the crowd was going to be like.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've ever seen this. In the pit at Orbit Culture was a construction cone. A literal construction cone. I have a video. I'll show you guys later.
Where was it at? The rave?
Yeah, it was at the rave. It was at the rave bar.
Did they hand a little sheet of paper when you walked in that said no moshing?
No, not this concert.
Because we went to Dance Gavin Dance last week, 2 weeks ago, last week, and they handed out sheets of paper to everyone that said no moshing. Did it work?
Yeah, no. I highly doubt it did.
The third band was this really cool band from Japan.
I think I remember that because I must have saw a concert at the same time where some kid got really hurt.
Well, it's called not going into the mosh pit if you're gonna.
If you're not ready.
The last time I was at the rave was to see My Chemical Romance in 2011, and several people got very hurt.
Yeah.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us today, Stoy.
I appreciate you inviting me on. This was fun.
You will be on
when you told
soon.
me like we're gonna talk about Plague Tale, I was like, I'm in 100%.
Well, you said that you played him in French. I was like, we need him.
Yeah.
Because since Dylan wasn't able to join, I wanted somebody else that was high on the game, and I was.
Yeah, because you not liking it, me liking it, I'm glad that we have somebody else who liked it.
I'm helping you.
And there are great games that are not for certain people, and this is one of those situations where I know this game is very valid and beloved and great in its own way, but it's just not for me.
Yeah,
and I can appreciate that there are bands that are not for me. I don't love country music, but I know there's really good country music.
Yeah, I don't understand why people love Taylor Swift, but I get it.
I like Taylor Swift.
That's good.
Not the music, but I like her as a person.
Yeah.
I like that she's saying get out and vote, and it's really pissing off a lot of politicians. They're like, wait, we didn't want 18-year-olds
Wait,
voting.
we don't want them voting.
Yeah. And I'm like, get them, Swift.
Yeah.
And they're making fun of her for saying the F-bomb. And I'm like, fuck them, Swift.
Yeah, right.
But we are here at the Dogcast. We are part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. Check out all the other amazing shows. If you've listened this far, please consider writing a review or leaving a like, telling your friends. However, you can do the bare minimum, the little bit to support us. We would really appreciate. If you want access to bonus episodes like Doggies After Dark or episodes much earlier in advance, our Elden Dog series is at least 2 months ahead right now, I believe. We've recorded quite a few episodes. And yeah, if you want access to that, check out patreon.com/HairTheDogcast. There are free trials right now, and we highly encourage everybody to at least check it out. Special thanks to all of our executive producers, Ryan Christianick, Phil Wright, Kip Kipper, Brian Ward, and Jordan Hoff. Y'all are great, and we love you so much. And on the next episode of Hair the Dogcast, I think it is ranking the MCU Phase 3 Part 1. See, and this is a great example of our Patreon. That was recorded like 8 months ago.
Yeah, wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was when we got Dylan to talk about Marvel, which is fun.
Does Dylan like Marvel?
You know how like you hate things, but you can't stop loving them?
Yeah.
He loves the comics.
Yep.
He's had enough Chris's in his life for a while. But, yep. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to be back with Doggies After Dark if you're on that tier. So we'll be back, or goodbye.